Captain stood on the bridge of the Odyssey Dawn, staring at the stars looked peaceful, but his instincts told him something was wrong. 3 massive ships had just appeared on their sensors, each one twice the size of his exploration vessel. "Unknown vessels approaching fast," said Lieutenant Minu from the tactical station. His voice stayed calm, but his fingers moved quickly across the controls. Doctor looked up from her science console. She had been studying the local star system, searching for signs of life. Now it seemed life had found them instead. "I'm picking up biological readings. They're definitely aliens, Captain." The flickered. A face appeared that made several crew members gasp. The alien had dark scales, golden eyes with vertical slits, and rows of sharp teeth. Its head resembled a mix between a lizard and a wolf. When it spoke, the translator struggled to keep up with its growling voice. "Soft skins," the alien said, and its mouth curled into what might have been a smile. "I am High Commander Axe of the Empire. You have entered our territory. Surrender your ship immediately." Straightened his uniform. He had spent 20 years in space, first as a pilot, then as an explorer. He had faced solar storms, equipment failures, and the loneliness of deep space. He was not about to surrender to anyone. "This is captain of the human vessel Odyssey Dawn. We're on a peaceful exploration mission. We didn't know this space was claimed." Axe leaned forward. His claws scraped against his command chair. "Peaceful, you are prey species, weak. No natural weapons, soft skin. You exist to be hunted or to serve. Choose now." Minu looked at with raised eyebrows. The captain shook his head slightly. Around the bridge, the crew remained silent. They were scientists, engineers, and explorers. Most had never seen combat, but they were still human. "We're not prey," said quietly, "and we don't surrender to threats." The commander seemed confused. His head tilted to one side. "You refuse? Your species must be ignorant of the natural order. We are apex predators. We have conquered 47 star systems. Prey does not refuse the hunter." "Then I guess you've never hunted humans before," said. Axe's eyes narrowed. "Break their ship," he ordered someone off-screen. "Board them. Bring me their leader in chains. Let's teach these soft skins their place." The communication cut off. Immediately, energy weapons struck the Odyssey Dawn's shields. The ship shook. Alarms blared across the bridge. "Shields holding at 70%, Minu reported. "But we can't take much more of this. We're an exploration ship, not a warship." "Evasive maneuvers," ordered. "Send a distress signal to Earth. Full bandwidth, tell them what's happening." "On it," said, her fingers flying across her console. The Odyssey Dawn twisted through space, dodging the worst of the weapon's fire. Had been a pilot once. He knew how to make a ship dance. But 3 enemy vessels surrounded them, and their weapons were strong. "They're launching boarding pods," Minu said. 4 of them. Impact in 30 seconds. Hit the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to be boarded by hostile aliens. Arm yourselves with whatever you can find. Work in groups. Watch each other's backs. Stay alive." He grabbed a plasma cutter from the emergency locker. It was meant for cutting through damaged bulkheads, but it would work on aliens too. Around the bridge, his crew grabbed tools, emergency equipment, anything that could be used as a weapon. The boarding pods hit the hull with loud crashes. Metal screamed as they cut through, heard roaring and howling from the corridors. They were coming. "They sound confident," said, holding a heavy wrench. "They think we're prey," replied. "Let's show them what human prey does." The bridge doors exploded inward. 3 warriors charged through, each one over 2 meters tall. Their claws gleamed. Their teeth showed. They moved with the speed of natural predators, expecting easy victims. They didn't expect Minu to throw a fire suppression canister that exploded in foam, blinding the first warrior. They didn't expect to swing her wrench at knee level, using physics and leverage instead of strength. They didn't expect to coordinate his crew with hand signals, moving as a unit instead of panicking individuals. They were stronger, they were faster. Their natural weapons were deadly, but they fought as individuals, each one trying to claim the kill for themselves. The humans fought as a team. When the first warrior slipped in the foam and fell, 3 humans were on him immediately. When the second tried to corner, Minu attacked from behind. When the third attempted to break through too, the entire bridge crew surrounded it. More poured into the ship, but something strange happened. The easy victory they expected didn't come. The soft-skinned prey fought back. They used tools. They used teamwork. They used the ship itself as a weapon, venting atmosphere in some corridors, flooding others with steam. After 20 minutes of brutal fighting, an alarm sounded on the ships. Axe's voice came over the communication system, though it sounded uncertain now. Warriors, return to the pods, now. They retreated, dragging their wounded. Several didn't make it back. On the bridge, and his crew stood among the wreckage, breathing hard. They were injured. They were exhausted, but they were alive. "What just happened?" asked, leaning against her console. Minu checked his sensors. "The ships are pulling back. They're leaving." Looked at watching the alien vessels retreat. They expected prey. They got something else. In the flagship, Axe stared at his tactical display. 7 warriors dead, 15 injured, against soft-skinned prey. His claws dug into his command chair. "Report to the High Council," he growled. "The soft-skins don't know their place, but they will learn." He didn't understand yet. The humans had given him a warning. The just hadn't recognized it. War Chief listened to High Commander Axe's report with growing anger. 7 warriors lost to prey species. It was an insult to every who had ever lived. The Empire had built its reputation on being the galaxy's greatest hunters. They could not let this stand. "I will take my elite pack," said, his claws extending. "We will find these humans. We will teach them what happens to prey that bares its teeth." Axe nodded. "Make it painful, make it memorable. Let the galaxy know that they tolerate no disrespect." 2 weeks later, and his 12 finest hunters tracked a human squad to an abandoned mining colony on the edge of charted space. Intelligence said 6 humans were conducting surveys there. 6 against 13. The odds pleased. "Surround them," he ordered his pack. "We hunt at dawn. I want them to see us coming. I want them to feel fear." What didn't know was that humans had a saying, "No plan survives contact with the enemy." What he also didn't know was that one of those 6 humans was Specialist, a reconnaissance expert who had spent 3 years in Earth's harshest environments. Spotted the ship's landing from 5 kilometers away. She was lying on a ridge, perfectly still, watching through her scope. She had been in the same position for 6 hours, barely moving. Such stillness would be impossible. Predators needed to move to hunt actively, but was a different kind of hunter. She spoke into her radio, her voice barely a whisper. "We've got company. 13 heavy weapons. They're setting up for a dawn assault." Engineer was in the mining colony's control center. She had spent the last week studying the facility's systems, not for mining purposes, but because she was curious. That curiosity was about to save their lives. "Copy that," said. "Everyone listen up. We're not fighting them on their terms." The attack came at dawn, just as planned. His warriors charged the colony's main building, expecting to find frightened humans cowering inside. Instead, they found empty rooms and active machinery. The building was a trap. Had rigged the mining facility's automated systems. Cutting lasers activated. Support beams collapsed. Ore containers swung on cables like massive pendulums. 3 went down in the first 30 seconds, not from human weapons, but from their own environment turned against them. Scatter roared, "Find them." His hunters spread out across the colony, using their natural speed and senses. They could smell humans. They could hear heartbeats. They were born to hunt. But then something strange happened. The humans didn't run. They didn't hide in one place. Instead, they moved constantly, always just out of reach. When warriors got close, humans would fire a few shots and disappear. When they followed, they found traps. Simple traps made from mining equipment but effective. Specialist remained on her ridge 5 kilometers away. Through her scope, she watched warriors search for her teammates. She tracked their movements. She learned their patterns. She waited. Waiting was something humans did well. We're built for the explosive energy of the hunt, for the quick kill. But humans had evolved differently. Humans could wait for hours, days. They had hunted animals across ancient Earth not by being faster or stronger, but by simply never stopping. On the second day, realized they had a problem. His warriors were tired, could sprint faster than any human, could strike harder, could kill more efficiently, but they couldn't maintain it. After a day of constant movement, constant hunting, they needed rest. The humans didn't rest. Every time warriors tried to sleep, a shot would ring out from a new direction. Nothing fatal, just enough to keep them moving. Would shoot from the north. An hour later, another human would attack from the south. They never got to sleep. "This is wrong," one of his warriors said on the third day. His eyes were bloodshot. His movements were slow. "Prey doesn't hunt like this." Was too proud to admit it, but his warrior was right. In 70 hours, they had killed no humans. But they had lost 6 more warriors to traps, exhaustion, and mistakes caused by lack of sleep. "They're pursuit predators," another warrior said, his voice filled with new understanding and fear. "They don't kill quickly. They wait, they track, they exhaust." On the fourth day, made his decision. Back to the ships, we're leaving. But had been busy. They didn't know that human engineers were dangerously creative. She had accessed their ships remotely, using simple coding tricks. Nothing fancy, just enough to disable their faster-than-light drives. "War Chief," one of his hunters reported, "the ships won't start, the drives are locked." Felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. They were trapped on this colony with humans who didn't stop, didn't tire, didn't hunt like any species should. His voice came over the colony's communication system. She had been awake for 96 hours straight, taking only brief naps. Her voice was calm and steady. "Warriors, this is Specialist. You came here to teach us a lesson about being prey, but you misunderstood something important. On Earth, we hunted animals bigger and stronger than us. We ran them down over days until they collapsed from exhaustion. It's called persistence hunting. You're experiencing it now." His claws dug into the ground. "What do you want?" "Leave this colony," said. "We'll unlock your ships. You go back to your empire. You tell them what happened here. You tell them that humans aren't prey. We're the species that ran mammoths to death in 40-degree heat. We're the species that never stops coming." 6 hours later, the surviving warriors limped back to their ships. 7 of the original 13 made it. They were dehydrated, exhausted, and humiliated. As their ships left the colony, stood next to on the ridge. "Think they learned their lesson?" she asked. Lowered her rifle. She had barely slept in 4 days, but her hands were still steady. They learned something, whether they admit it or not. On his ship sat in his command chair, staring at nothing. His warriors were silent. Finally, one spoke. "War Chief, what do we report to the High Council?" Was quiet for a long time. "We tell them the truth. Humans don't hunt like predators, they hunt like something worse. They hunt like time itself, patient, inevitable, unstoppable." He looked at his remaining warriors. "And we tell them to be afraid." The Galactic Council chamber was built to impress. 50 different species had representatives there, each one claiming their piece of the galaxy. At the center stood Ambassador, the first human to address the council. She wore a simple suit and carried a data tablet. She looked small compared to the aliens around her. Council speaker was a tall, thin being with 4 arms and skin that changed colors with its mood. Right now, it was showing orange, which meant confusion and concern. "Ambassador, the Empire has filed a formal complaint against humanity. They claim your species attacked their warriors without provocation." smiled politely. With respect, Speaker, they attacked us first, twice. We defended ourselves. High Commander Axe stood from his seat. His scales bristled with anger. Lies, you are prey species. Prey does not defeat predators. Your kind used tricks and deception. We used intelligence, corrected him. Is the Empire saying that thinking is cheating? Murmurs spread through the council. Several species made sounds that might have been laughter. They were respected for their military might, but not everyone liked them. Raised one of its hands for silence. The council must understand what humans are. Ambassador, please present your species data. Activated her tablet. A hologram of Earth appeared above the council floor. It looked like a beautiful blue and green sphere, peaceful and inviting. This is we call it Earth. It looks hospitable, observed. It does, agreed. But looks can be deceiving. Let me show you the details. The hologram shifted, showing numbers and classifications. Doctor's voice came through the speakers. He was a scientist who had spent his whole life studying Earth's ecology. Earth is classified as a death world by our own measurements. Gravity is 1.3 times standard. The atmosphere is highly reactive, with 21% oxygen, which makes fires burn intensely. Weather systems include hurricanes with winds over 300 kilometers per hour, tornadoes, and lightning storms. The council chamber went quiet. A death world classification meant a planet that actively tried to kill its inhabitants. Our planet has experienced 5 mass extinction events, Doctor continued. Asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, ice ages. Each time most life died, but life kept coming back, kept adapting, kept evolving. The hologram showed Earth's animals, lions with massive teeth, bears standing 3 meters tall, sharks that had existed for millions of years, crocodiles that could bite through bone, venomous snakes, poisonous spiders. Humans evolved alongside these creatures, said, not as the strongest, not as the fastest. We couldn't outrun the predators. We couldn't fight them with claws or teeth, so we evolved different advantages. A new image appeared. Ancient humans chasing an animal across a desert. The animal ran fast at first, then slower, then collapsed. The humans had barely been running, just jogging steadily under the brutal sun. Persistence hunting, Doctor explained. Most predators sprint and kill quickly. Humans evolved to run prey to death. We hunted in 40-degree heat because we can sweat, which cools us down. Most animals can't. They overheat, they collapse. Then we kill them. Axe leaned forward. That's not how predators hunt. It's how we hunt, said. Our bodies are built for endurance. We can run for hours without stopping. We can go days without sleep if necessary. We can eat almost anything because our digestive system evolved to process different foods. We can survive in temperatures from -40 to +50 degrees. The hologram showed human achievements, marathon runners going for hours, mountain climbers at high altitudes, divers holding their breath for minutes, soldiers carrying heavy equipment for days. But the most important adaptation, Doctor said, is our brain. Humans are problem solvers. We use tools, we work in groups. We communicate complex ideas, we plan, we adapt. Skin had turned blue, indicating worry. Your world tried to kill you, and you evolved to be unkillable. We evolved to be survivors, corrected. Nothing on Earth is unkillable, but humans are very, very hard to stop. A council member from a species called the spoke up. They were small, peaceful traders. This explains the reports. Your soldiers don't fight like any species we've encountered. Because we didn't evolve to be the strongest predator, said. We evolved to outlast everything else. We learned to work together because alone, we died. We learned to use tools because our bodies weren't enough. We learned patience because quick strikes didn't always work. Axe stood again. His pride was wounded, but he was no fool. The Empire does not accept this. Your species may have survived on a harsh world, but that doesn't make you warriors. I challenge humanity to trial by combat. One of your fighters against our greatest champion. Let's see if your endurance means anything in real battle." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Trial by combat was an ancient tradition used when two species couldn't agree. It was supposed to prevent wars. Looked at Axe carefully. She knew this was a trap. They would choose their absolute best warrior. They would pick the environment. They would have every advantage, but if she refused, humanity would look weak. "We accept," she said quietly. Axe showed his teeth. "Excellent. The trial will be held in 1 month. Neutral ground, multiple environments. Fight until one side surrenders or dies." After the council session ended, Doctor found in the human quarters. "Do we have a fighter who can beat a champion?" he asked. Sat down heavily. "I don't know, but we have something that don't understand. We have the entire human race watching and supporting whoever we choose. When a human fights, they're never truly alone." She activated her communication device. "Get me Earth Command. Tell them we need our best, not the strongest, not the fastest. We need someone who never gives up." On Earth, the message was received. Military commanders reviewed files. They weren't looking for a champion. They were looking for a survivor, someone who embodied everything that made humans different. They found Private, a combat specialist who had survived things that should have killed him. He wasn't the biggest soldier. He wasn't the most decorated, but his file showed something else. Every time he was knocked down, he got back up. Every time a mission seemed impossible, he found a way. He was exactly what humanity needed. The trial by combat was set. 1 month to prepare. One human against the Empire's pride. The galaxy would be watching. And somewhere in the Empire, their champion was training too. The greatest warrior they had ever produced, undefeated in 300 fights. He was preparing to crush the human and restore honor. Neither side knew it yet, but this fight would change everything. The arena was located on a neutral world, built specifically for trials by combat. It was massive, with different environmental zones that would test fighters in multiple ways. 50,000 aliens filled the viewing stands, watching screens and holographic displays. Another billion watched across the galaxy through broadcasts. Private stood in the human preparation room. He was 28 years old, average height, with scars on his arms from previous missions. Lieutenant Minu was there, along with Doctor, who was checking his medical readings. "Your heart rate is calm," said, sounding surprised. "Most people would be terrified right now." Shrugged. "Being scared doesn't help. It just wastes energy." Minu handed him a water bottle. "Remember, this isn't about winning every round. It's about lasting. The fight continues until someone surrenders or can't continue. Play the long game." "I know," said. He had studied the champion's previous fights, was undefeated. He was faster than any human, stronger. He had natural claws and armored scales. In a straight fight would lose in seconds. But hadn't survived 3 tours in combat zones by fighting fair. He had survived by being smart, adaptable, and too stubborn to quit. The announcement echoed through the arena. "Fighters, take your positions." Walked into the arena. The first environment was a rocky terrain with scattered boulders. Was already there, standing at the opposite end. He was huge, nearly 3 meters tall, with black scales that gleamed under the lights. His golden eyes fixed on with predatory focus. The crowd roared. Most were cheering for the Empire had many allies. Humanity was new, unknown, and small. A neutral judge, a member of a species called the Arbiters, floated above the arena. "Combatants, this trial will test you across 5 environments. Each round lasts until one fighter is incapacitated or yields. Medical teams stand ready. Begin." Charged immediately. His speed was incredible. He crossed 50 meters in seconds, didn't try to match his speed. Instead, he dodged behind a boulder using the terrain. Claws struck stone, sending chips flying. "Coward," roared, "fight me." Didn't respond. He kept moving, kept the boulder between them, was faster, but boulders didn't care about speed. Finally, went around and was ready. He had picked up a rock and he threw it hard at its face. It didn't hurt the champion, but it surprised him. Prey didn't fight back like this. In that moment of surprise, landed a kick to his knee, not hard enough to damage it, but enough to make him stumble. The first round went to anyway. He was too fast, too strong. He caught and threw him against a boulder. Felt ribs crack. The medical team rushed in as the round ended. "Can you continue?" the arbiter asked. Stood up slowly, holding his side. "Yes." Doctor's voice came through his earpiece. "You have 3 broken ribs. You should withdraw." "Not yet," said quietly. The second environment was a jungle, hot and humid. The temperature was 38 degrees Celsius, perfect for cold-blooded physiology, or so the thought. The round began, charged again, but this time didn't just dodge. He ran. He ran through the thick jungle, jumping over roots, ducking under branches, followed, faster and more agile. But 10 minutes into the chase, something changed. The breathing became heavier. His movement slowed slightly. The heat was affecting him. Despite his broken ribs, despite the pain, kept running. His body was producing sweat, cooling him down. This was what humans did. They ran. They endured. They survived heat that would kill other species. Finally caught him, and they fought hand to hand. Won again, landing powerful blows that left bloodied. But as the medical team carried out, was breathing hard, overheated and exhausted. Round 3 was in freezing conditions. -20 degrees. Wore minimal clothing and his body started shivering. Shivering was good. It meant his body was generating heat. Being cold-blooded, moved slower in the cold. This time lasted longer. He even managed to land several good hits. But his natural armor protected him, and his strength still won the round. In the preparation room, Lieutenant Minyu looked worried. "You're losing every round. Your body can't take much more." Drank water slowly. His face was swollen. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye. "How does look?" Minyu checked the monitors showing the preparation area. Tired, frustrated. He's not used to opponents lasting this long. "Good," said, "that's the point." Round 4 was an endurance test. Both fighters had to navigate an obstacle course while fighting. Climbing walls, crossing balance beams, swimming through water. Was still stronger and faster, but his exhaustion was showing. He made mistakes. He slipped once. His attacks were less precise. Was injured badly. His ribs screamed with every movement. His left arm was probably fractured, but he kept going. He climbed the walls even with broken bones. He swam even though it hurt to breathe. He fought even though every instinct said to quit. The crowd was changing. At first they had cheered for his dominance. Now they watched in silence, witnessing something they had never seen. A fighter who refused to stay down. A species that didn't know when to quit. Round 5 was the final test. An open arena, no obstacles, no environmental advantages. Just 2 fighters and their will to continue. Stood on one side, breathing hard. He had won every round, but he had never fought for so long. His muscles ached. His body demanded rest. Stood on the other side, barely able to stand. His body was a mess of injuries, but his eyes were clear and focused. "Just surrender," said. "You've lost. You've proven your species is brave. There's no shame in yielding now." Shook his head. "That's the difference between us. You see losing rounds as losing. I see lasting this long as winning." They fought. Was still stronger, but his strikes lacked their earlier power. Was slower, but his technique was better. He had learned patterns over 4 rounds. He knew when to dodge, when to block, when to counter. The fight lasted 30 minutes, then an hour, then longer. The crowd watched in amazement, landed more hits but wouldn't fall. He couldn't fall. Falling was surrender, and humans didn't surrender. Finally, his body gave out. His exhaustion overwhelmed him. He collapsed to one knee, breathing in ragged gasps. stood over him, swaying but upright. "Yield," he said quietly. Looked up at this human, this prey species that had endured everything he could deliver. "I yield." The arena exploded in sound. The arbiter declared the victor. Medical teams rushed to both fighters. As they carried away, he smiled through broken teeth. He had proven something important. Humans weren't the strongest or fastest, but they were the hardest to stop. Supreme Alpha of the Empire watched the trial by combat from his throne world. When yielded, his claws carved deep grooves into his armrest. The shame was unbearable. The Empire had built its power on the fear they inspired. Now a prey species had humiliated them in front of the entire galaxy. "This cannot stand," he growled to his war council. "The trial was a mistake. We gave them legitimacy. Now we must remind the galaxy why they fear us. We strike the human colony on the border world. We hit fast, we hit hard, and we show no mercy." His generals nodded. They were eager to restore their honor. The colony world of New Sol had only 50,000 humans and minimal defenses. It would be an easy target. They would overwhelm it in hours. What they didn't know was that humans had been preparing since the first encounter. They had learned about the way of war. They had studied. They had adapted. And they had sent one of their best commanders to New Sol. Admiral sat in the colony's command center, reviewing defense plans with her officers. She was a veteran of 3 different conflicts on Earth before humanity reached the stars. She knew how to defend against superior forces. "They think like predators," she told her team. "They rely on shock and overwhelming force. They expect prey to scatter and run. We're going to show them something different." Lieutenant, her fighter squadron leader, studied the tactical display. "Our fighters are outnumbered 3-1. Our ships are lighter than theirs." "Numbers don't win wars," said. "Coordination does. The fight as individual hunters, each trying to claim glory. We fight as a unified force. Every ship, every soldier, every civilian works together." 3 days later, the fleet arrived. 50 warships against the colony's 12 defense vessels. They broadcast their intentions clearly. "Surrender the colony, evacuate or die. You have 1 hour." Admiral responded personally. "This is Admiral of the Human Defense Force. New Sol will not surrender. If you want this colony, you'll have to take it." Himself was leading the fleet. He laughed at her defiance. "Brave words from dead prey. Attack." The fleet charged forward in their traditional style. Each ship moved independently, relying on speed and firepower. They expected the human ships to either run or cluster together defensively. Instead, the human ships scattered in a coordinated pattern. Lieutenant led the fighter squadrons in precise formations. They didn't try to match the in direct combat. Instead, they used hit-and-run tactics, drawing ships away from each other. "They're dividing our fleet," one of his officers reported. "Doesn't matter," snarled. "We have superior numbers and firepower. Press the attack." But the humans had another surprise. Engineer, who had been stationed at New Sol for months, had studied the colony's industrial equipment. The mining lasers, the construction drones, the cargo haulers. She had turned them all into weapons. When boarding parties landed on the colony, expecting frightened civilians, they found organized resistance. Civilians worked with soldiers. Mining lasers cut through armor. Construction drones dropped heavy equipment on enemy positions. Cargo haulers became improvised tanks. "This is wrong," a commander reported too. "The prey is fighting like a unified organism. Even their non-warriors are dangerous." Watched his tactical display with growing frustration. His ships were faster and stronger, but the humans moved like a school of fish, always coordinated, always adapting. When he sent ships to one area, humans would strike from another. When he tried to corner them, they slipped away. Doctor was on the colony, not as a scientist but as a coordinator. She had set up a communication network that connected every human on New Sol. Soldiers, civilians, Even children were part of the information system. When warriors moved, someone saw and reported it. The entire colony became a living sensor network. Squad moving through Sector 7, a civilian reported. Defense team redirecting, a soldier responded. I can see them from my window, a child said. They're going left. They had never encountered anything like this. They were used to hunting prey that panicked, that scattered. Humans did the opposite. They came together. They shared information instantly. They protected each other. After 12 hours of fighting, had lost 15 ships, not destroyed but damaged enough to retreat. His ground forces were stalled, unable to advance against the coordinated human defense. His warriors were exhausted, fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Supreme Alpha, his tactical officer said quietly, we need to withdraw. Our forces are depleting faster than expected. Never roared, we do not retreat from prey. Admiral heard this through intercepted communications. She opened a channel directly to his flagship. Supreme Alpha, you're making the same mistake your warriors made before. You think we're prey because we don't have claws or scales, but you're wrong about what makes a predator. Enlighten me, human said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Real predators adapt, said. Real predators work together. Real predators use intelligence, not just instinct. You hunt alone. You rely on physical advantages, but we humans learned something important on Earth. The biggest predators went extinct. You know what survived? The species that worked together, the species that used tools, the species that never stopped adapting. She transmitted a data package to his ship. It showed Earth's history. The great predators that had ruled for millions of years then died out, and humans, small and weak, surviving them all. Your empire conquered 47 star systems, continued. But you conquered species that fought like you, individual warriors relying on strength. We're different. Every human here is connected. We share information instantly. We protect each other. When you strike one of us, you strike all of us. That's not prey behavior, that's pack behavior. And packs are the most dangerous hunters in the universe. Stared at the data. He saw human history. He saw how they had dominated Earth not through individual strength, but through cooperation. How they had taken down animals 10 times their size by working together. How they had survived ice ages and disasters by helping each other. You want to keep fighting? Asked. We can do this for days, weeks, months. We don't tire the way you do. We don't give up. Every hour you stay, you lose more ships, more warriors. For what? Pride, honor. Those things won't matter if your empire falls. His claws dug into his command chair. Every instinct told him to keep fighting, to prove dominance. But he was also a survivor. He had led the empire for 20 years by knowing when to fight and when to retreat. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Peace, said simply. A treaty, trade agreements. You leave human space alone and we'll leave yours alone. We can be allies or enemies, your choice. It took 3 days of negotiation, but the treaty was signed. The Empire from New Sol himself traveled to the Galactic Council to make it official. At the signing ceremony, stood before the Council and the galaxy. His pride was wounded, but he was honest. The Empire has learned something. We thought ourselves apex predators because we are strong and fast, but humanity showed us that strength isn't everything. They survived a world that tried to kill them. They evolved not to be the strongest, but to be the most persistent, to be the most cooperative, to be the ones who never stop. He looked at Ambassador. You asked me once how your prey species conquered your world. I understand now. You're not prey. You never were. Earth had no apex predator because you killed them all, not with claws or teeth, but with patience, tools, and teamwork. The treaty was signed. They became wary allies of humanity. They never attacked humans again. The word spread through the galaxy. Don't underestimate humans. They look weak, but they're persistent hunters. They're the species that never gives up. Years later, young warriors would learn about the human wars in their training. Their instructors would tell them, "The humans taught us that apex predators can go extinct, but survivors adapt, survivors endure, and humanity are the greatest survivors in the galaxy." Back on Earth in a military academy, instructors taught new recruits the same lessons. "We're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, but we're human. That means we work together, we adapt, we endure, and we never ever give up." The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had earned its place among the stars.